Halfway into its 10-day hearing on the triple talaq issue, the Supreme Court saw more animated arguments today, with the centre saying that instant triple talaq was not an essential part of Islam and that the right to religion is not absolute. This comes a day after Kapil Sibal, arguing for the Muslim Personal Law Board, said that triple talaq is a matter of faith for Muslims, like the birth of Lord Ram is for Hindus.
On day 5 of the triple talaq hearing in the Supreme Court, the government made its strongest pitch against the practice, saying triple talaq is not an essential part of Islam and it cannot be allowed to continue by the court just because it had been in practice for 1,400 years. Can anyone say that we allow human sacrifice just because it was practiced earlier? Asked the Attorney General Mukul Rohatgi.
Practices, however old they are, that does not give them any higher legitimacy. The question is today, any practice has to meet the rights of today's current age milieu, the ethos and the requirement of society. The Constitution says so, that nothing is absolute.
Earlier in the day, the Supreme Court bench wondered if it would be possible to give Muslim brides the option to say no to their prospective husbands, divorcing them by uttering the words talaq thrice at the time of their marriage. Senior Congress leader Kapil Sibal, who is representing the All India Muslim Personal Law Board, welcomed the suggestion. But there were questions if the Qazi or the religious court would be bound by the law board's directive to give brides this choice at the ground level. Justice Kehar, however, quickly asked the council to not infer anything from the suggestion. The court was just exploring various possibilities.
The All India Muslim Personal Law Board, which started its arguments yesterday, defending the 1,400-year-old practice, insisting it's a matter of faith, did concede at the end of the day that it's an undesirable practice, but the community should take the first step.
In court, Mr. Sibal pulled out a resolution passed by the board that called triple talaq a sin and asked the community to boycott the person who invokes it. He, however, urged the court not to intervene in the practice, saying triple talaq had been made out to be something as if every member of the community wakes up in the morning and does it. With A. Vaidyanathan, Vijay Kumar for NDTV.
Joining us on the program tonight, Mr. Asaduddin Owaisi, Member of Parliament from the Lok Sabha, Member of the Muslim Law Board, as well Subhashini Ali of the CPM and IDWA President here in the studio with us. Sadia Delvi, author and columnist, is here with us. Nagma, the General Secretary of the All India Mahila Congress, and Sambit Patra, the National Spokesperson of the BJP. Let me get to my guests in the studio first, because I know this is going to be quite a fiery political debate. Subhashini Ali, to you first. Very strong arguments made by the Attorney General today, and what really stood out was that line where he said that the right to religion is not absolute. What have you taken away from the arguments so far in the last 5 days?
Well, first I'd like to just comment on what he said. That is very interesting that the representative of this particular government should say such a thing in court. And I hope they will remember what they are saying today in the future also, because this government is that of a party that is constantly invoking religion to justify all kinds of very, very inhuman practices and also many policies and many slogans. So this should be something that's really written in stone today, that the right to religion is not absolute, it also changes. That's one thing. As far as the question of triple talaq is concerned, I'd like to say that the women's movement for the last 20 or 30 years has been saying, like Dr. Ambedkar had said earlier and many social reformers had said, that all anti-women and unequal laws within communities and outside must be changed. The community cannot be an excuse for discrimination against women. And in fact, we have been campaigning for equal rights of Hindu women as far as succession and property is concerned, ancestral and otherwise. We've been campaigning for the rights of Christian women. You know about Mary Roy, what a tough fight she had to put up to get the right of inheritance for the Syrian Christian community. And similarly, as far as the Muslim community is concerned, many of us in the women's movement, including many women, Muslim women, have been saying that triple talaq, polygamy and halala and also unequal rights of custodianship of children must be examined and must be changed in favor of women, so that women's equality is agreed.
So do you welcome this as one step, or are you saying that, you know, women's equality in other communities or inequalities that need to be addressed?
Yes. Now,
not
what
just
I'd
in the
like to
Muslim
say
community.
about this particular issue is, we all know that there is no Quranic justification for this kind of triple talaq in one sitting. That's been repeated many times. But in any case, any kind of unilateral talaq in which there is no discussion, in which there is no discussion about the children, there is no discussion about assets, is wrong, and it doesn't fit in with modern day life and jurisprudence.
So
Having said that, I would also like to say, it's very interesting that a survey has just been conducted.
I'm coming to that.
Yeah, I'd just like to say one thing about it.
Yeah.
In which 84% of divorced Muslim women apparently have said that dowry was one of the main reasons for them being given talaq. Now, this is very interesting because here we are talking about changing the law, but the law outlaws dowry. But what's happening? Is it really being outlawed? No, it is increasing.
You know, it's also very Islamic. So they should. I wish that the practice of dowry has nothing to do with.
But so Sadia, let me just ask you that: do you believe though that politics has hijacked the issue? Because you have these hearings that are going on every day in the Supreme Court. Even though the Prime Minister said, don't politicize this issue, this is very much an issue about women's rights. On the contrary, do you see the opposite happening, where it is actually very much a political issue?
Well, it does, everything becomes political eventually. And the problem is that there is a genuine trust deficit with the Prime Minister, with the centre, with the BJP. And so it becomes even more difficult and people feel very threatened. And I don't think we should look at it that way, because I'm no supporter of the BJP or any other party actually. But I do think that these issues have to be about gender justice and not be about faith. Now, I would also like to comment on what the Supreme Court said. Subhashini articulated the other aspect very well. But yes, the talaq is not an essential part of faith. I mean, there are only 5 pillars of Islam, which include the namaz, roza, zakat, hajj. And apart from that, everything in the Sharia is mobile. And the Sharia is dynamic, otherwise Islam would have absolutely not, survived and thrived like it is today. So, and it's in the history of Islamic jurisprudence, if we look at it, jurists have always given rulings after studying the societies and weighing the harm and benefits of a ruling. Great imams of even the 8th century, even Imam Shafi'i, who's the Shafi'i school followers, when he moved from, I think it was from Egypt, from Iraq to Egypt. He actually changed his rulings. What I'm saying, we have to be creative with law. Islamic
and
law
it's an issue
is
of
not
gender.
divine. It is most of Islamic law is a human endeavor to understand scripture, and this triple talaq came, it was actually, like we all know, it is against the specified part.
Which is
but
why
it was brought upon, it was actually changed by Imam Abu Hanifa, and whose
and
law
as you said, it's actually
it's
about gender justice. So Mr.
Owaisi,
let me come to you then. Because you have been critical of the way the BJP has been handling this. You believe that the BJP is trying to stir the communal pot, as you put it in one of your statements recently. At the same time, though, do you concede that this is an issue about women's rights and women's justice that needs to be addressed and looked at through that prism?
Well, you see, if you go through the empirical data which is available to everyone, triple talaq is not an issue as far as the Muslim community is concerned. Yes, the Muslim Personal Law Board has clearly given a clarion call that if you divorce a Muslim woman through triple talaq, it will lead to social boycott. But having said that, how do you get gender justice? Can courts of law give gender justice? Can Mr. Modi, through his sermons create a gender justice? No. Gender justice has to come from society, and which the All India Muslim Personal Law Board is striving, is working hard through various steps like Islahi Mashra. But the point here is, I repeat again, it is the government which wants to impose uniform civil code. The cat is out of the bag by the arguments presented by the government through AG in the court, wherein the government said that nothing to do with triple talaq or talaq-e-ahsan, talaq-e-hasan or tafweez talaq. They just want a new law to be brought in. Now, what is that? That means that this government wants a uniform civil code. and which Mr. Modi wants to impose in country. Once you have UCC, it will be a complete turning India into Hindu Rashtra. So gender, justice, all these are a very good, words. But Mr. Modi is using it to ensure that India loses its pluralism, its diversity, and to impose UCC. My question is, why isn't Mr. Modi talking about 2011 census shows that 43.56 lakh Hindu women are in bigamous relationship. This is in C3 in 2011.
No, but Mr. Owaisi,
why isn't he talking about that?
No. Let me though ask you before I get Sambit to respond to that. When you said that the Prime Minister is using gender justice to eventually bring in a uniform civil code and a Hindu Rashtra, there is also, gender justice is not just a term. I mean, there are women who have been genuinely affected by the misuse of triple talaq, by instant triple talaq in particular. There are women who've been divorced on WhatsApp and Skype, and there are, horrific reports that we see. I mean, these are genuine issues of gender justice or injustice, and those do need to be addressed. Are you saying that you don't want the courts to address those, and that the community should address them, because the community doesn't seem to be willing to address them?
The community will never address
exactly.
them.
And I've got someone like Sadia Delvi saying that the community is not willing to address them. So what option do women have?
And
they go to the courts. Let Mr. Owaisi answer that. Yeah, Mr. Owaisi.
Well, you see, I would request all your panelists who are there to please be observers to what Muslim Personal Law Board is doing. Please come and see. In a month, I address 5 to 8 public meetings. I interact with women, with men, saying that, look, the reform has to happen. Can an order from court change? No. What about Dowry Act? Why aren't we saying that despite having a Dowry Act, a Hindu woman cannot get her share in matrimonial property when she gives away right to her father? What about agriculture land? What about 1 crore Child Marriages Act of Hindu girls? The Prime Minister is not talking about it. The BJP is not talking about it. You have nearly 20 lakh Hindu women who are abandoned. One of them is lying in Gujarat. The Prime Minister conveniently forgets about that.
Don't make a right.
You have 4.3 crore women who are widowed. Out of that, 13% are Hindu. So where is this?
Let me just get first comment from Sambit and Nagma on that.
Let me conclude.
Let
me conclude.
Okay.
If triple talaq is the only issue for Muslim women, then please give reservation to 7%.
But I think you have to concede that it is an issue for Muslim women. It may not be the only one.
Even if one woman is wrong, we have to address it.
Yeah, even if it's wrong for a small number of Muslim women, as you claim, it's still wrong and it needs to be addressed. Sambit Patra, how do you, however, see this very interesting report that the Indian Express today had on page 1 about a survey done by the Center for Research and Debates in Development Policy that had a survey of quite a large sample size, more than 20,000 people, on the issue of triple talaq, which showed that actually less than 1 in 100 Muslims use triple talaq to get divorced. That was a very interesting statistic, that actually it's not as widespread as we think it is. What do you think of this study?
No, Nidhi, first and foremost, I firmly believe that even if there is a single person in this whole earth who does not get justice, then the courts of this country and the constitution of the country has to function to see to it that that single person gets justice. So I believe in the justice delivery system, statistics hardly plays a role. For instance, if we do not have rape in a particular state, or the statistics of rape in a particular state is less, that does not mean that the courts and the police of that state should be lackadaisical towards rape laws just because, well, the statistics says that there are just few rapes in that particular state. So that is no argument at all. Coming to the main point over here as far as triple talaq is concerned, I mean, there has been lots of talks over here that BJP has brought this issue into the fore. Let me begin by correcting this narrative that it is not BJP which brought this issue into the fore. There were few victims from the Muslim community, Muslim women, 5 or 6 respondents who went as petitioners to the court and who applied to the court saying that please do justice to us. And what did the Supreme Court do thereafter? The Supreme Court asked the central government the BJP government to send an affidavit, to file an affidavit to that effect. And I have the affidavit copy with me over here. And the affidavit of the central government says that we stand with gender equality, we stand with Article 14, 15 and 21 of the Constitution, and Part 3 of the Constitution protects the fundamental right of women. We believe that men and women are equal, because in one of the petitions, respondent number 3, that is the All India Muslim Personal Law Board, said that though we agree that triple talaq is undesirable and a sin, but yet it should be practiced because of the following 3 reasons. Reason number 1, that Muslim women, in fact, women in general, have less decision-making capability compared to man. Point 2 was, if we do away with talaq-e-biddat, that is talaq in one sitting, then probably the legal process would be too long, and if we have such a long legal process, the husband may get infuriated, may burn or kill the wife. So it is better to get talaq and get out of house than to get killed. And third part, the husband may get up in the court of law and say that this woman that I used to live with is a characterless woman, so her character would be assassinated and she would not have future prospects. I firmly believe, as a young Indian and as a part of BJP, that I believe men and women are equal in 21st century. I don't see any reason as to why Mr. Asauddin Owaisi's intelligence would be more than Nidhi Razdan's or Delviji's or Nagma's intelligence. I believe Asauddin Owaisi's intelligence is as good as your intelligence. So this is a constitutional matter and not a political issue. And they
However,
themselves
Sambit,
agree that
how
it is
does
undesirable.
the BJP see how do you see, for instance, what Subhashini Ali said, that this shouldn't be about gender justice for women of only one community, that there are Hindu women, Christian women, women from other communities and religions who are also battling, issues of discrimination and oppression. And is that something that needs to be addressed as well, that it shouldn't be about the Muslim community only?
No, definitely. She's absolutely right. It's not only about the Muslim community. Remember, there is a case going in the same court that we're talking about as far as the rights of divorce of the Christian woman is concerned, because the Christian women also have certain issues with their divorce laws. I think there is a waiting period, a cooling period of 2 years before they can get divorced, and the case is going on. That we have not debated and discussed that issue at length. That is a separate issue. So any woman can approach the court from the Hindu religion, the Muslim or the Parsi religion, if they feel that their rights have been infringed. And over here, I mean, Article 21 rightly says, just breathing in and breathing out does not constitute life. You have to have life with dignity. And if life of dignity of the Muslim woman or a Hindu woman is hurt, she is free to go and approach the court of the country, and that's what has been done in this case.
No, Nagma, let me ask you though. I mean, I'm still very confused about what the Congress's position on triple talaq actually is. What is the Congress party's position, and as a woman yourself, what is your position?
Look, I said it on another debate also, Nidhi, yesterday, that instant triple talaq is something which I'm, not in favor of. And that shouldn't be done, because I think it's man-made, and that should be done away with in some way or the other. But apart from that, I would like to say, if Sambit has just spoken about giving justice to one person, I think the first person that really deserves justice is the girl from Rohtak, who's really gone through a lot of pain in the past few days, and she's no more. But I think justice should be given to them first. And I'm very happy that they're so concerned about the Muslim women. But like another panelist said, that it shouldn't be about one community. It should be about community at large. And if you go to see, there are so many cases happening in the courts, and there are so many issues that are still far, more important than what we are discussing right now. But if we are going on to this, I would like to say, that this is very political, for the simple reason is that, the Rashtriya Muslim Manch, which has been, trying to woo the Muslims from the past 15 years, which has not been successful, which is, was headed by Mr. Indresh Kumar.
Nagma, I would disagree with you when you say that it's not an important issue.
The only way to woo the Muslims,
it is
the
an issue.
only way.
It is
very
issue.
important.
Subhashini Ali just has a
This is
response
very
to you.
important, because there are
just
20 million. There are 20 million
You see, we
more
cannot,
Hindu sisters of mine.
We can't
whose
weigh
cases
what's
are languishing,
important here and
they
what's
are
not. I think every
given
issue.
justice.
Let's
what-
not
yeah.
Why
talk
are we
about
not
justice
looking
for
at that?
someone
And why are we
as
just
if-
looking at this?
Excuse
And
me,
Yeah.
but I don't think that we should approach this question in this way. If a question has come up in front of the Supreme Court, if 5 Muslim women have gone there, they deserve justice and they should get justice. So I don't think we should argue with that. What I'd like to say is something about what Mr. Owaisi was saying, that the Muslim Personal Law Board is trying to make efforts, etc. I would like to say that the Muslim Personal Law Board was requested by women across the board to come up with a model nikah nama more than 25 years ago. And in that model nikah nama, we requested them that all the things which you say are un-Islamic, like the practice of dowry, etc., please list them there, that this would not be part of the marriage, etc. They didn't come up with it. So it is not that they have not been given the opportunity to make changes and to make reform. It is because of their failure, actually, that this issue has become such a burning issue.